by the way, I love your work. I'd like to begin with a quote that is dear to my heart, one that I happily wear on t-shirts and hoodies, and it goes, "No matter how many times you fall, never call the ground home." A quote I quite resonate with by Alhan Islam. This is your bi-weekly show, I Love Your Work with Aisha, and I'm your host, Aisha, and I've chosen to give out flowers to those who have earned them. Today on the show, I'm quite excited to bring a creative bundle of talent, a young, vibrant, and multi-talented individual. Drum roll! She is the young voice of emerging Africans, an internationally renowned poet who utilizes her voice and social media following to catalyze social change and support causes in search for justice. She's also the Nigerian campaign coordinator for Change.org, the world's platform for change. Maryam Bukar, aka Alhan Islam, aka internationally renowned Super Cub. I can go on and on, but you can feel my excitement. Welcome to the show, Alhan.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You know, so the world knows you, as a poet. And when I say the world, like the whole world, you were just recently on a global platform. Many global platforms, but I mean, like you were on stage with over 4 million people watching at the time. And I'm just so happy. And this podcast is called I Love Your Work. So obviously I love your work. I'm trying so hard not to laugh because, this is my cub. She makes me laugh all the time. So we're here to talk about being a young mother. Congratulations, you just had another baby. Okay, I need to say your age.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, anyway, she's a young mother. Who's known to work so hard. Like we get to see the behind the scenes of you working. We get to see you being the voice of so many platforms, many brands, fighting for justice on so many different things all around the world and Nigeria in particular. I think today I would really want to know, you just had a baby.
Yeah.
And my sister actually called me.
Yeah.
The day you had the baby, a couple of hours after. And I think I had heard probably 2-3 hours before. And she's like, what? What? Is that Alhan? No, is she, what's going on? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you need to go to her page. I was like, what's happening? She's like, this girl is working. Didn't she just give birth? And I remember saying, I don't know if this is good, but that's my cup. So I just want to know how having a new baby, you already had one, he's how old now?
He's 4.
4-year-old.
Yeah.
You have a 4-year-old toddler. I'm sure he just got out of the terrible twos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's still driving me crazy.
Oh my God. And we now have a beautiful little baby girl.
Yes.
And I'd just like to know how that has, affected your life.
So I think right from when I was pregnant, the primary fear for me was, will I slow down? Will this be another curve where I totally stop what I am doing? Because whenever I am pregnant, and I say whenever because I have had 3 pregnancies and then had a miscarriage in
Unfortunately,
between. Yeah. I always go through this trauma of loss and grief because my mom passed away when I was 9 months pregnant with my first son. So that journey, we went through that, together, and it was right when 2 weeks to giving birth that she passed on. So whenever I am pregnant, it so happens that I relieve that trauma all over again. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was like, is this the right thing? Do I have an abortion?
Oh no, are you serious?
Yeah, I had that.
It was that
thought.
serious?
Yeah, it was, because at first there was excitement, and then came the grief, and then like the trauma, and then to a point where I'd be sleeping and it's like I could
Anxiety.
see my mom in a dream. Sometimes I'll sleep so long that we actually just have something going on in the dream, and then I wake up and it's like, oh, she's not here, and then I break down, and then in between that I had work to do, and sometimes I'm just too, not lazy, but I guess I was so deep into what was happening to my mental state that I wasn't able to pull myself out of that dark place. So with that, I would still, try to do work. And so when
and so bright, you do it so well. No one would know you're going through all of this.
Yeah, my mom once said, put on the Pokemon face. When it's showtime, and showtime doesn't wait for you time.
Yeah.
So I think that's
oh my gosh, you have to say that again.
When it's showtime, and showtime doesn't wait for you time.
It does not wait for you.
Yeah. So it's either you put aside what is wrong with you and do this because it needs to be done, or you can just dwell in it, and it's not going to reduce your suffering.
Yeah.
It's okay to take time out and be conscious about what's going on with you, but also dwelling on it at a time when, maybe when you do something that can change your life.
Yeah.
It's hard, but also it can be quite unnecessary, because sometimes we have to also understand the part we play in our own suffering.
True.
And
I think that's probably why that quote really resonates with me, because it doesn't matter how many times you fall.
Yeah.
Just don't call the ground home.
Yeah. Don't get comfortable there.
Yeah. And it's so easy to get lost in it all, get lost in the thoughts and the limiting beliefs, should I say, that life just keeps going on. It doesn't matter what's going on with you.
Yeah.
So we come back to you deciding to keep this baby.
Yes, so I decided to keep the baby, and I think it's been a gift, because at a point when I just said to myself, said all of those things and reminded myself that, your mother didn't bring you into this world to just be this way, and even if she's gone, this girl can be your mother.
Life has to keep going.
Yes. And so I was like, okay, so just imagine you're carrying your mother. And that was what changed everything, and I decided to keep her. And then fast forward to my work, I kept working because that kept me alive.
Okay.
So some are leaving, but they're not alive.
Yes.
So
that is true. That is very true. So some are living, but they're not alive. Yeah.
So that kept me, alive, and I was just putting so much pressure because I didn't even want to have time to
think.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and I can remember just a few hours to me getting in labor. I had to finish my application for the change.org role.
Which you now have.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
So exciting.
Yes. And I could feel the pain and everything, and I called Amira, my executive assistant. I said, listen, I'm in pain, but we need to get this work done. So she was just by my side, in the ward, and she was like, what should I type here? Okay, just
oh my gosh. Those few minutes of pain in between.
Yeah, we did that, and she left, and then just into the night I had some complications. My asthma started. The baby's heart rate dropped. They couldn't feel the heart rate again. I was really hyperventilating. I was just in some. And then they had to do emergency CS.
Oh no.
Yes, and then I went in. I can remember having a panic attack in between. I was throwing up while they were trying to do the CS, and they had to hold on, and the very thing that was coming out of my mouth was mama, because I was doing this with my hand, trying to just hold on to someone, because to just feel that sense of safety. And I'd say God bless Dr. Aisha. And then they realized that, she is another person I call mama, and they called her, and she came in, and she held my hand. She's like, Maryam, calm down. And then, when I was calm, she's like, hold on. And then, when I was calm, they put the oxygen, and boom,
the baby's out. And now we have a new life. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
One thing I love about you, you have no fear talking about taboo. So recently on the show, we had Shireen, who you know, and he was on here, and we're just talking about, taboo and the things people don't like to talk about. People would never want to say, I thought about having an abortion, for example. But it's a thought that crosses so many women's mindset,
Yeah.
right? It's a taboo topic. We don't want to hear pro-life, all of that.
Yeah.
You also talk about wanting to just let go.
Yeah.
You know, I think society does it what's the word I can use? It's not kind.
No,
society
it's not.
is not kind.
It's not kind to your vulnerabilities.
At all.
And for me, it's like, what's the worst that can happen? That's
Yes.
one thing I keep telling myself. You look at me, you judge me, that's okay. It's your business.
Which is probably what keeps you going,
Yeah,
right? Because what's the worst that could happen?
You don't pay my bills.
What's the worst that could happen?
It's
Exactly.
Not, you don't affect me in any way.
And even if you did pay my bills, if it disturbs my mental health, you're gone.
It's not important.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to just learn that balance and knowing when to shut down. I give examples all the time of when I had two little babies,
Yeah.
and they were both sick, and my nanny was sick, and my husband was not around, and I was all alone, you know, with two sick kids, and I still had a board meeting that was going to happen the next day, and I was in charge. And I remember the guilt I was feeling, knowing, okay, I'm not going to sleep through the night. I'll probably not be at my best the next day.
Yeah.
My kids, do I want to leave them? They're sick. Like, so do you want to meet up to the responsibilities of being this high-end head of HR, you know, who is handling this board meeting? Or do I want to be present and just be with my kids, you know? And I remember going through the night,
Yeah.
I was exhausted, you know, one on my back, one in front. I don't know how come I didn't have any other person now. Every time I think about it, I wonder, why didn't I call someone? But, you know, I remember just literally falling asleep with my, with one on my back and I'm just like, you know what, I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this for them. Like, it's just for these two, you know, like that's what kept me going to the point. I think it was like 4 a.m. before they finally slept, and by 6, I had to be up to go get ready for this thing that was going to start at 9, and it was going to take the whole day.
Wow.
Right? And I decided that life was not for me.
Right.
I needed to be able to pick my own hours. I needed to be able to balance my life in a way that, okay, I can do all these other things without having that fixed 9 to 5, which wasn't 9 to 5 really, because sometimes I was at the office till 1 a.m.
Wow.
You know, but have you had situations where you've thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to be a housewife?
Right. I think that has crossed my mind, but again, I don't thrive just not doing anything.
Yes.
And it disturbs me. So you can tell me, Maryam, rest, and you'd find me knitting, and that's how I picked the knitting.
Creative people tend to have their minds just running constantly.
Yeah, so it has crossed my mind, but whenever I even try to actualize it, it backfires because it's not in my nature to be idle. But the thought of it is fancy.
It does. It does. And you know what? I'm actually very I have respect for those who decide to do that. Like, give your whole life to your kids. It's a beautiful thing. I'm a very lazy person.
Right.
So maybe if I did,
Are you?
I think I am. I always say that I am.
I
but
think it's because of the standard you have set for yourself, which is also very amazing and interesting because other people might see you as lazy, but at a point, because of how hardworking you are, you start to compete with yourself.
I know, right?
And
Because it's like I need to just keep going. And then I don't want to do anything. And I'm always... Fatima Hamza called me the other day and she was like, I've never met anyone that's happy when things are cancelled. I met you, Alhan. You're one of them. I know. I know. But you know, in life, you have to find the moments to rest.
Yeah.
It's a constant thing, and I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And I think every time I want to talk to young people, I tell them burnout is real. Like, you don't know how it's going to affect you.
Oh, yeah.
I know people who have had mental health breaks. I know people who have literally physically shut down. I'm one of those that falls sick, like sick, because I don't take time.
Yeah.
So how do you balance it all?
I think for me, it's that I have grown into understanding how deep my consciousness runs. And I can pick the signal when I'm about to burn out. But then, you know that thing where maybe your car is getting to reserve and you're like, yo,
I keep going? I think I can.
I can still make it to
I
2
think
kilometers.
maybe 2 kilometers, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yes.
And then I'm like, 2 kilometers, okay. Amira, we need to do this, that.
Yeah.
And then that 2 kilometers, I know I need to finish whatever I need to finish and take a break.
And
so
shut down.
If it's a physical break or mental, I have started to sort of be aware of the signs that my body gives me. And so when I hear sometimes people tell me, you're about to burn out, like, don't worry.
You're like, I know, I got this. But sometimes you don't got this.
Sometimes you don't got this. But you just
but the body will tell you,
like,
you
let's
know what?
Jump tree. No, let's do
this
it.
body no be wood, as they say, right? And then you crash. So this happened to me even yesterday. I had a really, really annoying day. You know, you have one of those days that nothing just works out. Everything, there's always a problem with one thing or the other. And that happened to me till probably 6:30, 7 p.m. And then my phone dies. I couldn't find my charger. I got into the house and I was just like, you know what? I don't even want to speak to anybody. I don't want to chat. I did not bother looking for my spare charger or power bank or anything. And I just literally just laid there. I literally just laid there.
I can totally relate.
And then I realized, you know, I was able to clear my head, think things through. And then I woke up in the morning and life was good. Everything was great. You know, so I think I want to say this because the main reason I wanted to talk about this is the experience of motherhood and what we go through. Apart from obviously you have people who constantly judge you. You know, it's like, so where are the children? You know, so who's taking care of them while you're working? It's like, have you had experiences like that where?
Yes, I have.
And did it make you feel guilty?
No.
Okay.
No, to be honest, I would really say again, thank you to my mom for the way she raised me, because it's like, you can be saying something that you think would affect me. I'm like, oh, this is how it's supposed to affect me?
Good.
I'm in complete oblivion. I don't know how she was able to build the confidence to that level, but I will listen to you. But it doesn't mean that I really hear you.
Yeah.
So I give you that regard because everyone is entitled to their opinion. But I have never felt guilty, and I still will not when anybody says that, just to put that out.
Because your life is your life.
Yes, and you must learn sometimes how to treat them as individuals.
Yes.
My mom was very busy, but I didn't understand how much she has done for me by just living her life the way she did until she had passed.
There's nothing more beautiful than that. I pray I'm like that to my kids.
Honestly, because sometimes it's not even about sitting with them and talking to them. Sometimes it's about how you act,
seeing,
you know, what you're doing, how are you taking care of your own self? Because if I'm not driven enough for my own self, if I'm not filled enough, I cannot fill you in the right way. I might start taking out my frustrations on you.
True. And I personally now, like, my kids know boundaries.
Right.
If I tell them, you know, I just need a few minutes, you know, when you come back in, the first thing is, oh, everybody, mama this, mama. And you're tired.
Yeah.
Maybe you've had the longest day, you know, or someone has pissed you off. Or it's that time of the month where you just don't even want to see anybody, you know. And
it's valid.
It's valid.
It's valid.
And back in the day, like, I've seen people who, whatever it is the kids want, 24/7, they kill themselves. And they end up resenting their own children, you know, and resenting their own family.
Yes.
You know, and so that's one thing I've known. Just like you, I've had a career mom, and I've been able to see how she's worked. And there were times in the past that I would judge where I'm like, but I want time. Like, I have this gist I want to show, I have this drawing I want to, but she's busy, right? And then I didn't really understand.
Right.
But now that I've understood, unlike their generation, they didn't really talk or communicate.
Yeah.
For us, I think the difference for my generation, I don't know about yours, so you're going to have to tell me that. Because the gap between us is a whole human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so for my generation, I feel we're talking to our kids where we're like, listen, this is the reason I'm doing this or that. I need a break. I need time. For me, they know when I say, okay, can I have a few minutes, or I need 2 hours. They literally just leave me.
Yeah.
And they are also learning boundaries within themselves, because there are days that they don't want to play, they're not in the mood.
Exactly.
So they can happily say to the other one, you know what, I'm not in the mood today, can you go and find somebody else, you know?
Yeah.
So for you, you know, this is what you just said now. In this situation where you already have that power and that strength of self-acknowledgement, self-empowerment, you know, and I look at many young women, I'll use an exact example. I met this lady, hadn't even been married yet. I think it was a wedding, her friend was getting married, a slightly older friend, and I think she was 22 at the time. And we had a conversation and she was asking me, how am I able to do the kind of work that I do?
Right.
And I was like, okay, you know, so we started talking and there was a whole bunch of them on the table. And she gets to a point and she's like, you know what, I want to be a chef, but I don't think my husband will let me. So I was like, okay, have you spoken to your husband? She's like, oh no, I'm not married. I was like, okay, so the guy you're supposed to marry, have you spoken to him? And she's, no, I don't have anybody. I was like,
right,
okay. And there were a bunch of them on the table. So I said, you've not met this person, but you've concluded by your own self that whoever it is you're going to end up with is not going to let you be a chef. I said, do you see what you're doing to yourself? So she was quiet. I'm like, you're killing your own dream just based on a thought. And she said, no, it's basically where I'm from. So I was like, okay, so you've decided you're marrying where you're from. Is that what it is? And you believe that this person may not be able to. Have you put it on the table? If there are a whole bunch of them that are speaking to you, trying to marry you, you know, and I think that's another situation we have, especially where we are from, right? Where people have these dreams, but they don't even allow themselves to experience it just because of what will people see.
Yeah, I think the first thing is you need to learn how to give yourself permission. And also beyond that, our parents, I feel like they will come around. I have been a rebel in my life. I'm not saying be a rebel, but sometimes the flavor is good. I can remember my father saying, you are not going to get a husband because you're going to be all over TV and nobody would want to marry a woman like that. And I said, oh great, I'm not interested in marriage actually.
At that point.
And I think he wanted to slap me.
Oh gosh.
But I think growing up, my mom made me understand that marriage is a thing, right?
Yeah.
But it is not the ultimate success. And some of these things you should do it on your own terms.
Yeah.
So it was clear because I can remember even when I got married, I told her, what if I just feel like, and she's like, yeah, you can come back home.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that much.
It gives you that comfort where you don't feel like this is the end of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it allows you to just be.
Yes, and being 22, it should be a time where you're willing to experiment.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, you need to learn to give yourself permission. Yeah. As you said, I love that. I love that. Because this next step, and this is what I always say, they'll always tell you what you can't do. People don't focus on what you can do.
Yeah.
And that's why I think now the world is so into motivational speakers and motivational speaking, because those who get to live their lives, they're not many.
They're not, yeah.
They're not many.
Yeah.
So you have people talking, motivating you based on, because they have been able to live their lives, or they just want to. Because many of the motivational speakers are actually living the way they would want to, you know, but just speaking about it helps. Right? So I would say for you now, based on this, when you do have a couple of motivational roles where you say, I'm not a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
But you motivate and you inspire, right? Do you think about that when you're speaking or when you're writing, you know, or in the creative process?
Yeah, I think for me, to be honest, I can be a bit selfish because what I do in my writing process is I put myself first. What would I like to hear?
So you mostly speak to yourself?
Yeah, I mostly speak to myself. And the beauty about that is when you're so open about telling your truth
Mm-hmm.
without thinking about somebody else. Because
Yes.
the moment I start to think, will this person like it? Then it means that I might dilute my truth if I think a certain audience would not like it.
Yeah.
So I just put myself first. What's wrong with you? What do you want to put out there?
Mm-hmm.
And I just put it out there. Sometimes I put it out there, I shut down my Instagram, and I come back the day after. Because I don't even want
You
to
don't want to
anything.
hear, yes.
Yes.
To
So for
stop
me,
it
I
or
really
pause
just
it or...
put myself first.
And it's such a beautiful thing that you're able to express yourself. You know, I always say this, I'm like, this little girl, this little girl. Because when I met you, how old were you? 15? 14?
Oh, I was 13. I was
13?
turning 14. Yes.
I'm that old?
I was 13.
Are you kidding?
I was 13.
You were 13?
Yeah. I
Wow.
was 13.
Viewers, I'm in shock.
You don't wanna know my
I don't
age?
even have the words anymore. I'm in
And
shock.
also, just to say this, but I'm also just keeping you in suspense as well. My age that you know is not my real age. Yeah.
So that's Alhan Islam's age. So we now have,
It's
what
a
do they
minus
call it?
one.
Football age.
Yes, so I have a football age, yeah.
So you added one.
Yes. So, yeah.
Okay, is this the services, if any, you know, for her government name? As long as you're not using it on anything official.
No,
then it's
I'm
fine.
holding on to my football age.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I'm proud of you and I'm proud of
Thank
your
you.
achievements, you know, and I know the children you have are going to have such a beautiful life, you know, because they have such a beautiful mother who's strong and keeps going. And I get to say, I love your work, Alhan.
Thank you so much.
So you have to give us, you know, you can't come on the show and not give us that voice. Yes, do it.
So, there are
I
days.
love for those who aren't watching the video and are listening to this on any of the podcasting stations. The way this girl switches from this little girl to the voice that is Alhan Islam is always so beautiful to watch. So let's do it.
Okay. So there are days that doubt creeps in, says, you are not good enough. But I know who I come from, a mother whose hands were magic and she could fix anything broken, wipe tears with just a kiss, mend hearts with just a hug. I come from a woman whose toil was grace, blessed me with the little she had to make the most of me. I come from a hero, after all.
Oof. Ooh. Can the camera see this? I always get good. Like, I can't ever get used to it, Alhan. I can't ever get used to it. I'm so proud of you, and I'm really glad you're able to express yourself and live your truth, you know, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. And I absolutely love your work.
Thank you.
And I hope to have you back
And
on the
I
show.
love your work too. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a product of her work.
It makes it sound like I stitched you together.
Right. Oh, well, you actually did, because at the point when I lost my mom,
Yeah.
she was actually there to stitch me back together, because I can remember I stopped writing. My husband,
Yeah.
at a point, he had to cry.
Yeah,
He
I
knelt down
remember.
crying and saying, whatever you do, don't stop writing. And
Oh.
like I could see
No, we love
her,
Black Arab. We love him. We love him.
and I could see her trying so hard to like make sure I get what I needed in terms of whether be it inspiration, whether be it, you know, the setup, whatever it took to make sure that
Yeah.
I still continued doing what I was doing. And then with my husband also at home, when I'm not with Auntie Aisha and I'm with him, he makes sure that, oh, I'm still doing it. And then I met Alex.
Yes.
Yes. Who
Our one and only Alex.
who became a brother to me and also a best friend, him and Salim.
Oh. So I'm so happy to say this because that's my team behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Our branding guy, the guy producing this, who's always hiding behind the scenes.
We see you.
one of these days I'm going to get a behind the scenes recording,
I think you should.
so that we can catch Alex.
Yeah, we should, because Alex always runs away, but then he's just amazing.
He's taking behind the scenes a little bit too serious.
Yeah, he is.
Alex is laughing behind us. But yeah, it's always great to have a beautiful family, and you guys have been amazing. You sparked up my life. I think even this podcast, you guys, without you harassing me, it's like, just do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with you, because I watched you, I could see that light, and it's one of the things.
She took me boxing too, and that was therapy and for focus. And there was a day that she what's the word now? She passed out.
I passed out
Yes,
doing boxing.
I was screaming. I said, "Don't leave me."
Yeah, it was
panicking.
I can't even remember what it was.
Nah.
I think they said was it my blood sugar level, or I had low blood pressure or something at the time.
Yes.
And then I passed out, and I remember looking up and seeing you just go,
don't go,
like
stay,
a
don't
panic.
leave me.
And I remember saying, "Oh my God, I have traumatized this child. I'm never going to get close to anybody again."
Passed away, my mom,
oh
and
gosh.
Don't leave me. So
yeah,
it's truly an honor to have you in my life. To have Celine, to have Alex, to have my husband. He's such a beautiful human being, and I just want to give a shout.
We love you, Black Arab.
We love you.
We need to bring Black Arab on the show to tell us how he handles this stubborn
Because I am his work.
child.
So you love his work. I am his work.
But I think that's one thing we need to say for those who don't have family and friends behind the scenes that support you. You have to still be able to pull yourself out of things, because regardless of the many times that you've had issues, you've still had to pull yourself out. The best we could do is worry and say you need to get out of this, but people around you, there's only so much they can do. And I always say this: find your own happiness first. Find your contentment. Find your own personal drive. Like for me, I've learned something new, something that I only just found out. Once I get into greenery, my brain just starts working. It's like the oxygen is fresh, beautiful. I want to paint, So I created a balcony in my house that is full of plants. And every day, once I'm back, I put my feet up just for a few minutes and absorb the oxygen, the freshness of nature. My own book can be plenty sometimes.
I love it. I know.
But you know what I mean? Let's learn to take care of ourselves as women, as mothers, and the family unit is super important. If you have any men that are listening, any little contribution, is beautiful. And I think our society is beginning to learn and understand that a family unit means all of us working together, not just the woman taking care of her child, right? And once we're able to have that, it builds a great family unit. Everybody's grounded and happy. Before I close, I want to remember something, because we're talking about family. Imagine having a law, like a bill, that focuses on family first.
That would be
every law, every bill, every policy thinks about how it would affect the family unit.
I think
that would be such a beautiful thing. I know a couple of countries think like that, because you have like countries that have Ministry of Women and Family, which is what we call Women and Youth. You have people who have like Ministry of Happiness. No, but I really think we need to think and talk more about having a family unit. And when I say family unit, it doesn't mean it has to be like a nuclear family type of thing. But like, how do we support each other?
Right.
If a woman needs support, you go to the office and there's a nursery and you have people. Like when they say it takes a village, I think we need to really rethink and package what that village is in every aspect of society. But before I digress and get us into another, I'm sprinkling your flowers.
Take it all in.
Take the flowers. Take it. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to bringing you back. Don't worry, guys. She'll probably come on here. You'll get tired of her face.
Yep.
And her voice.
Yep.
But we never get tired of it.
Thank you so
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Cobb, see you soon. And thank you so much to everyone that's listening and watching. See you soon. Bye. And by the way, I love your work.